Hey kindergartners, Mr. Goldstein here. I am super excited to cook for you, with you again today. I'm going to be making potato pancakes, potato latkes, which are a food that we cook a lot around Hanukkah, which is a holiday that just started yesterday. And so the ingredients for these latkes is pretty simple. We need potatoes. We're going to use an onion. We've got a few eggs. We have some flour and some salt and pepper. And so all of those things combined will make some delicious latkes. All right, so I've peeled 5 pounds of potatoes, and I've taken each potato and I've cut them in half. And then I have my onion here, which I cut into quarters. Each half I cut into quarters. So maybe you can think about how many pieces of onion I ended up with. And so now the next step is going to be to shred the potatoes and the onions. And to do that, I'm going to use the Cuisinart, which makes things go a little bit faster. So what I usually do is I take I have to make sure it's plugged in first. So we'll do that. And then we'll put in a couple potatoes. And we'll put a little chunk of onion. And then turn on our machine. Uh-oh.
You didn't put the blade in.
Like that. And then we kind of keep going. And this takes a little bit of time. And eventually we'll have it all shredded. All right, so I've done some of the potatoes, and you can kind of take a look here. Now this next step is kind of an important step. It can get a little bit messy. And so what I have here is I have a dish towel. I'm going to dump the contents of the potatoes and some of the onions, and then I'm going to kind of grab it by the 4 corners and make like a little pouch, and then I'm going to walk this over to the sink, and you'll notice as I drip all over the floor there that there is an amazing amount. Let me give you some light here. There's an amazing amount of moisture in potatoes. Look at all that. And if you don't get it all out, your latkes can sometimes be a little bit on the runny side. So we're going to do our best to get out most of that water. And then what we're going to do, we're going to take a nice big bowl. And here we'll dump our potatoes minus quite a bit of moisture to the bowl. All right, so we've got our potatoes and our onions all shredded, and I got out as much of the moisture as I could. And now we're going to start putting things together. So what I have here first is 3 eggs that I've kind of whipped up. So we'll add those. All right. And then, you know, it's interesting, latkes is one of those things where not a lot of people use recipes for them. And so this is an example where I kind of don't have the exact amounts. It's sort of more like how it looks. And so we're going to start with our flour, and it's, you know, we're going to start with about a 1/2 cup, and we'll kind of see how things are looking. And we'll give it a stir, kind of get this incorporated a little bit. Potato latkes are really a delicious food, and I think one of the stories I heard, at least that my mom and my grandma told me when I was a kid, was that the reason why we ate latkes on Hanukkah was because you had to use oil. As you'll see in a little bit, we will cook these in oil, and there was a story long ago about how they wanted to be able to light up their homes, and they only had a certain amount of oil. And it lasted a lot longer than they thought. And so because of that story, we kind of like eat certain foods that use oil, such as cooking latkes. All right, so that looks pretty good. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add some pepper. As you can tell, I'm not really measuring. And we'll do a little taste test in a little bit later, so you kind of see we can adjust the seasoning. And we're gonna add some salt. We'll start with, I don't know, probably about a teaspoon or so, maybe a little bit more, a teaspoon and a half of salt. And give this another stir. Sometimes you'll notice like a big chunk of onion that didn't get picked up by the Cuisinart, so we'll pull that out because that might be a little bit too much. So now I'm kind of looking at for the consistency, and this looks pretty good actually. I don't think I would want to add any more flour. So next, what I usually do is I'll take a little, and I'll kind of, my hands are clean by the way, and I'll form like a little pancake and kind of see, it seems like maybe I'm gonna add a tiny bit more flour. That looked like it was gonna kind of fall apart. So I'll add probably, this is about just maybe about a quarter cup, we'll call it, of flour. Whoa. We'll go back and give this a stir. Yeah, I think that's what we're looking for. Just that consistency right there. All right. And from here, this is when things get exciting. Okay, we are back and we're at the range, and I have a non-stick skillet and I have some canola oil in there and it's warming up. And what I usually do, since it's kind of hard to taste this because it's raw potato and raw egg, which is not really the best thing to eat. So what I usually do is I kind of make one little test latke to see how the flavoring is, and maybe I might need to add a little bit more salt and pepper. So I've got a little bit of the potatoes and stuff. I'm gonna put it into the pan. All right. And I'm gonna grab a spatula for that. Okay, so our little test latke here has been cooking for probably a couple of minutes, and you'll notice it's starting to get real golden brown around the edges, and that's kind of the sign that it's ready to be flipped. You gotta kind of be careful here. The oil's really pretty hot. Give it a flip. Just gonna lower my heat a little bit. I noticed the oil starting to smoke a little bit there. And we kind of want it to be hot, but not to the point where the potatoes burn before it gets cooked on the inside. All right, so we're gonna take out our tester, shut that off for right now. And I've got a cookie sheet out here and a little bit of paper towel just to kind of helps take away some of the oil. And then this is a good part because you get to, it's kind of hot. You gotta be careful. I'm blowing it. Good. But as I suspected, I'm gonna give it a couple more cranks of pepper. Kind of like things peppery. And then I'm going to add a little bit more salt. Would you agree? Yeah. I'm gonna go with probably about another teaspoon of salt. All right, and then we'll go ahead and mix this up, and then we'll begin cooking all of our latkes. So we've been working hard here, cooking away, and here are our finished products, our finished latkes. And I put them on a cookie sheet, and then right before we have dinner, I put them in the oven to crisp them up and to warm them up a little bit. And so I hope you have a chance to maybe make these latkes, and I hope you all have an amazing, happy holidays and a great winter break.